What's poppin'? Welcome back to I Do It Myself. I am Wayno. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you like what it is that I do, make sure you hit that sub button. Today we talking about this Diddy situation, this Diddy case has come to an end and the verdicts are in. Before I want to get to that, I want to talk about the past 2 years. 2023, Cassie files a lawsuit. And this lawsuit comes on the heels of Diddy promoting this Love album, right? Diddy getting the key to the city, all of these different things that's happening great in his life and his career. Seems like he's back in a sense, right? When he files this lawsuit, the lawsuit gets paid immediately in a month. I think within that same month it got paid. $20 million, $20 million. When it first happened, everybody was like, oh, well, whatever she said he did, he must have did, or whatever she suing him for, he must have did because he paid it out so fast. I think it was a lot of mixed feelings about it. Even for myself, I had mixed feelings about it because I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on, what had happened. I'm just seeing that it's a lawsuit, he paid it out. You know, we're all trying to figure out what's happening with Diddy. Couple of months later, Diddy goes to start defending himself. I'm not gonna allow y'all to paint this narrative about me. I haven't done anything wrong. You know, he goes on somewhat to a small campaign of defending his innocence when it comes to whatever could have possibly happened with Cassie. Then the video happens. When we see the video, I ain't gonna lie, for a person like myself that grew up in Harlem, born and raised in New York, you know what I'm saying? Seeing Diddy over the years, he was a person of inspiration to me. Getting a chance to meet him, I don't know him, but getting a chance to meet him and him giving me kind words of encouragement showed and made me feel like I was in the right space in life as far as what I was pursuing in music. But when I seen that video, that all came to an end. Reason why is because seeing a man be that violent to a woman, really, it broke our perception of him. All of the shiny suits, all of the great music, all of the legacy that this man had built up for us to follow, it was like, damn, this is who you really are? And then short after that, Diddy goes and defends himself, right? Well, not necessarily defends himself, but he makes a apology video. When he makes this apology video, it wasn't really it didn't seem like an apology to Cassie. It was just apologizing for who he was at that time. Yo, I was in a dark place. I was down bad. I was messed up. Now, ain't no empathy for rich niggas. It ain't. People look at people who have money and wealth and fame as if they should know better. And I'm not going to sit here and say that is a defense towards them, because I don't think it's a defense or not. Whether you got money or you don't, you should not be putting your hands on a woman. So nobody was really trying to hear that. Nobody with sense was trying to hear that. But then you got the roar from the crowd on what everybody felt he should be doing or what they did in their personal life. You had people talking about how they have hit their women. You had people talking about how that's normal, how that's regular. I wasn't subscribing to none of that. Then Diddy gets locked up. And when he gets locked up, the jokes start happening. The freako, right? They start calling it a freako. Oh, he was freaking off. Now, I had put up a tweet and I had said, going to the feds for being too freaky is insane. And I was greeted with so much backlash. I mean, so much backlash. A woman told me that I should be next. It was insane. Like, that's one thing, man. When people don't agree with you, they're going to say whatever they want. Now, that's the internet. People could, no smutters on my name, whatever. But when, these theories started popping up after he got locked up, then you had the Little Rod incident. You had people insinuating that Little Rod was saying Little Rod had said that Diddy had did something with Meek Mill, and people started picking apart Meek Mill and Diddy's relationship, and him and Fab, and old clips starting to surface of one or two times where somebody might have said something and it seemed a little sus, and then you start getting all of these theories of what possibly happened. Now let's get to the trial. Once the trial comes, everybody's thinking about these potential freak-offs, right? Because they started saying, oh, the parties are the freak-offs. So if you went to a Diddy party, then you was freaking off. Then we come to find out that the freak-offs had to do with people that we had never heard of. You had the Punisher. You had all these different characters that they was hiring. They was doing role play. They was doing all of these things. And then we get to the part about how Cassie, starts opening up about what she went through with Diddy. And she starts talking about how she just wanted to be with him, how she wanted him, she wanted a family, she wanted all these different things. And then people started to think. Not everybody, but people started to think. There was a lot of situations within what Cassie was saying that, yeah, I definitely have empathy for the fact that you was getting beat on as a woman, you little petite, and this dude that's stronger than you, that got all this money, you know what I'm saying, is beating on you and taking you shopping. And then, you know, you start seeing the conversation about this is what crying in a Wraith looks like versus crying at the bus stop. So now, you know, it's now that starts, and then it's that banter on the internet. This is all internet shit, right? That banter starts on the internet. But then Cassie starts to open up about how she was down to do the freak-offs, and she was doing the freak-offs because she was on drugs and she was sedated and she wasn't making the best decisions for herself. And then as this starts to go on more and more and more, it seems less and less about a RICO indictment versus Diddy and this criminal enterprise that he's running, and it seems more so Diddy versus Cassie. Seems more so about that. And then you get Capricorn Clark coming into court and talking about, you know, how, you know, Diddy's jewelry had got stolen. It was $2 million worth of jewelry. He takes her to some office building and has her do a lie detector test. And then you hear about the Kid Cudi bombing of the car, which his car wasn't bombed, right? It was a Molotov. It was cut open and a Molotov cocktail was thrown in it. And, you know, nobody was in the car. The car wasn't blown up. People started to think about Casino and Sam Rothstein opening up the car and getting in and the car exploding. It wasn't that situation. Not that that makes it any better, but let's talk about the law. A lot of times when the general public talks about the law, we talk about our feelings. We talk about our feelings, not what we actually know about the law, because the average person knows nothing about the law. We hear a couple of things, we hear a couple of rap bars, and then we think, oh yeah, I can say that, I can do that, I have rights too. And we do have rights. But there's a difference between how you feel versus the law. You get the assistants talking about how they were, you know, a part of the freak-offs in the sense of cleaning stuff up and sweeping stuff under the rug. And my general consensus of Diddy is that he a freak. You know what I mean? He a freaky ass nigga. Yes, he's a freak. He used his money and his power to freak off. No pun intended, but it's there. He used his money and his power to rule over people, which a lot of men who get power don't know how to handle it. I mean, it's some corny shit, but it's ironic that, you know, the whole backdrop of Spider-Man's path in Marvel or his comics is with great power comes great responsibility, right? Y'all remember No Way Home when that was said by Aunt May, and then he said it, and everybody looked at each other because that was the general consensus, right? With great power comes great responsibility, and Diddy abused his power, which he negated his responsibility. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say people wasn't hurt by him. I'm not going to say that, because definitely, I mean, working a job, what Capricorn was saying about like how she was working, and that's just stuff that happens in the music industry. A lot of people do jobs above and beyond that they're not compensated for. You know what I'm saying? Then she couldn't get a job after that because people had relationships with Diddy and they're like, yo, I will hire you, but you got whatever you got with him, you got to work out, because they didn't want to upset the relationship or disrupt the relationship they had with him because they had made so much money with him. So that was like, you know, that's crazy. But in the end, he wasn't convicted of any of that. The racketeering charge. Let's go to a news report so we can see what he was convicted of versus, you know what I mean, what was dropped.
To differ and say this isn't even about a love story. This is about a crime. We're just getting word not guilty on count 1, not guilty on count 2. Is that correct?
Guilty on count 3.
Guilty on count 3. Stay with me, Tony.
Not guilty on count 4.
Not guilty on count 4.
And guilty on count 5.
And guilty on count 5. This is just coming into us right now. Could you repeat that for me, Nia? She's our field producer. You said not guilty on count 1.
Count 1.
That is the racketeering conspiracy. The second count.
Not guilty.
Not guilty on count 2. Is that correct? Not guilty.
Malice. Guilty on count 3.
Guilty on count 3. That would be the Mann Act transportation of Cassie Ventura. And if you could, looks like I have the note as well, so I'm just going to read it. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy, not guilty. Count 2, not guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, guilty. So essentially, the jurors found that he was guilty of the Mann Act. That is the transportation to engage in prostitution, but they found him not guilty on sex trafficking, very serious charge there where he could have spent a minimum of 15 years in prison, and not guilty on that racketeering conspiracy, which he could have spent up to life in prison for. So that is the very latest. We're going to get more information.
So it was said that, when Diddy heard, the verdicts, that he turned around to his family, dropped down, prayed, looked at them and said, I'm coming home, right? Now, it's a lot, listen, it's a lot of mixed emotions with how people are taking this. I'm going to tell y'all what I think is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is, and I could be wrong, right? Like, what I think is going to happen, I could be wrong. But I think that Diddy is going to get federal probation for this. I think he's going to get federal probation. He's going to be on probation for a very long time. I don't see them putting him in prison for 10 years. Now, the 2 charges that he is convicted of, which involve Jane Doe and involve Cassie, are punishable up to 10 years, right? The max is 10 years for each of these charges. I don't see him getting 10 years for these charges. I don't know what the minimums are, but I do know that maximums are 10. I don't see him getting convicted for 20 years because I was on stream yesterday and I was posing a question, right? Like, we're not going to sit here and skip over the fact that this nigga is a foul nigga and he's done a lot of stuff that is wrong and hurt people and harm people and all of that. But for what he's convicted of, do y'all think that constitutes him spending the rest of his life in prison? Now, depending on who you ask, is people that saying, yeah, he should go to jail for 30 years. He's 55 years old, so 30 years is possibly a death sentence, right? There's people who think that he should have never been locked up to begin with. There's people who think that he should have beaten everything. This was not a domestic violence case. If this was simply domestic violence, I think it'd be open and closed. It'd be simply open and closed. It wouldn't be nothing to argue because we seen a video. So if it was domestic violence and it wasn't federal and it was state, it'd have been open and closed. Because it's federal and you got all these intricacies and they got this, everybody talks about the federal conviction rate. The federal conviction rate, yes, the feds have a very high conviction rate because they come after you with facts, not fiction. But the fact of the matter is that as much as we hated to see or hear the things that Cassie is going through, a lot of the shit that she was involved in, she was also complicit in. Don't skip over that. Don't skip over that. I know you want to have empathy for people and you want to feel sorry, and I know that the whole, well, she's a woman thing comes into play. But when you have people that's on the stand, right? Like I said, this is not about our feelings. This is about facts. When you have people on the stand that are saying, yo, she was the one that asked me to do this. She was the one that paid me. She was the one that was reaching out to me. That factors in how people make decisions. But did y'all see the other chick, Gina? You know what I'm saying? She's doing interviews and she's basically saying that Diddy never did nothing violent to her. So it all shapes into people's, mindset and their narrative on what they think about him, because you got people who saying he's a dangerous person, but then you also got people saying stuff like this.
I have a quick question for you. You think Diddy's gonna win this trial? Before you go, that's what I want to know. If Diddy does win this trial, do you think your life will be threatened in any kind of way?
No.
You don't think so? You think everything will be safe? Because the girl Aubrey O'Day, she said that if Diddy wins, she's gonna leave the country.
I mean, he never did anything dangerous to me. I'm not scared.
You're not scared? Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Okay.
You have people who Cassie's lawyer is petitioning for Diddy to not be released. Let's read through the letter that they sent. Well, an email. Her attorney sent this. We write this as counsel for Cassie Ventura, to respectfully request that the court deny Mr. Combs to be released pending his sentencing on 2 convictions under the 18 U.S.C. pursuant to the Bail Reform Act. Detention is mandatory post-conviction on these charges. And Ms. Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself as well as the community. We thank the court for its time and attention to this matter respectfully. Douglas Wijdorp. You also have, right? You also have one of Diddy's former assistants expressing the same thing. Mr. Combs has had a long, documented history of violent, coercive, and retaliatory behavior. Over these years, he has repeatedly escaped meaningful accountability, and each time, this has only reinforced his sense of impunity. If he's released now, I have no doubt he will see it as yet another license to continue intimidating, threatening, and harming people who challenge or expose him. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't no fortune teller. Ain't no Miss Cleo shit ain't no Miss Cleo shit going on over here. There's no Miss Cleo shit going on over here. But I do not know how this is gonna go. I think that there's no happy ending to this story. I mean, there's absolutely no happy ending to the story. And as you can see, what we've all thought was gonna, happen, didn't happen. I mean, honestly, I never had a horse in a race as to what was gonna go down. I know one thing though, y'all people that's doing this shit is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you got grown adults sitting outside of a courtroom spraying each other with baby oil. If somebody would have told us this 20 years ago, it's no way possible we would even believe that society could conduct themselves in this type of matter, given the seriousness of some shit like this. But here y'all are, cooning and jigabooing in front of the courtroom. Now, if you're a person that is a full Diddy supporter and always believed that he was innocent no matter what he was alleged of, then whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's your right to feel that way. But for y'all to be out here spraying each other with baby oil, dancing and all types of silly, stupid shit, y'all is just bugging, man. Like, I'm not going to say collectively that this is why people don't take us seriously, but this definitely plays into the part of how the narrative is written. You know what I'm saying? Because people are going to believe that everybody feels this way. Now, if Diddy comes home, I think the smartest thing for him to do would be to get away from everything. Focus on your family, you know what I mean? Stay in that space. And you got to go, I don't even think it's about reinventing yourself, because people is going to be totally off him in a lot of different ways. A lot of people is going to be falling back completely off of anything Diddy. But I think that he should, if he does get out, he should thank God and shit, like, get low. Go be with your family, stay out the way, because, man, ain't no telling what could happen in this type of time. I mean, ain't no telling what can happen in this type of time. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this whole situation. How did y'all feel about Diddy from the start to now? How do y'all feel like he's been, acquitted on certain charges but convicted on others? It's a very, very slippery slope. You know what I mean? I just think that he was a bad person that used his power to rule. You know what I mean? And if you look at history, that's what's always happened with men with power. But this is how I do it myself. For the ones that rock with me, you know how we doing. For the ones that don't, eventually will. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.